Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I'm going to suggest that the SNP really dislike Aberdeen. They have these plans to close down the oil industry and thus cast everyone in Aberdeen into poverty, break up families, destroy the local economy and everything. And before that, they're trialling a new policing operation which involves not actually investigating crime, or at least virtually none of the crimes, only the serious ones. It's going to be an absolute field day for petty burglars, for people who are petty criminals, for people who want to do a bit of snatching. I mean, if you're a shop owner, forget it. You are going to be done. You will be targeted, and the police won't even bother investigating. They probably won't even answer your phone calls. It's basically turning the whole Aberdeen into the wild, wild west because of, well, SNP policy. They're not funding it, and they're deliberately changing the approach. You have to ask, what have the people of Aberdeen done to the SNP that the SNP hate them so much? Let's have a look. So, Aberdeen is being victimised again by SNP ministers as the police to no longer investigate minor crimes in the region. You're basically opening this up as a criminal's paradise. It truly is. Former Lord Provost of Aberdeen, Barney Crockett, blasted the force for its plans to pilot a new crime-stopping initiative in the northeast, which could see some minor crimes not even being investigated by cops. How can they possibly call this a crime-stopping initiative when it is actually openly inviting criminals to commit crimes? And of course, the worst of this as well is that it does mean not only are you making like normal people far more likely to be victims of crime, and people who are vulnerable far more victimised as well. It's going to create problems there. Socially, you're also going to be opening up to much more vigilantism. And then you'll be complaining that there seems to be a lot more sort of vigilantism in Aberdeen. There's something wrong there. And then you'll start going and arresting normal citizens who've tried to protect their property. This is madness. This is absolutely bonkers, isn't it? Police Scotland and the Scottish Government have been accused of victimising Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland in general after plans were unveiled for cops to no longer investigate minor crimes in the region. Labelled the Proportionate Response to Crime, the initiative is set to begin right away and is a result of major funding cuts for the force. Because of course it is. The SNP are too busy wanking money away on independence causes to actually provide a half-decent police service. You know, something that people would appreciate and that would do the community great good. Can't be benefiting people if there's pretty brochures to print. It means that victims of crimes will be told quite quickly and quite frankly whether the incident will be properly probed or not, with no further action being taken in some cases where there is no proportionate line of inquiry. The example given by cops was a garden theft with no CCTV or eyewitness evidence. I suggest everyone has CCTV installed, and where possible you purchase something that requires a licence. Let's just put it that way. But the force's decision to launch the pilot in the northeast has been criticised by one civic leader who claimed that once again Aberdeen has been the victim here, has been victimised, and has been left with a lack of resources. The city is facing an antisocial behavioural crisis at the moment, with gangs of youths causing chaos in the city centre, and the police are not investigating as yet. Now, when you have behavioural issues like this, the police's job is to stamp on it straight away, because if you catch these yobs young and punish them hard young, you can change that behaviour. If you let them get away with it, it devolves into much worse criminal behaviour later on. And then people start getting hurt, and that's when you start getting vigilantism, and you need you'll end up with local citizens forming bands that will go around, and when they do catch these lads, they won't be given a formal talking to. They'll be given punishment beatings. Seen it before. It happens. It's quite effective, let me tell you, but it's totally against what really ought to be the norm for a society. Former Lord Provost Barney Crockett told the Scottish Daily Express that he has noticed a sad decline in policing in the area, with public anxiety growing. This new pilot will only succeed in causing more fear among concerned citizens. And we've seen before how the SNP, by policy, now by the deliberate policy, have reduced the number of policemen by an impressive amount, thousands, across the whole of Scotland, because they can't afford it. They can afford all the other things. They can't afford policemen, apparently. But pretty brochures, absolutely fine. Policemen, no. He said, I think the worm will turn in this area, that people will be demanding a fairer share of police resourcing and a more positive attitude to policing crime and antisocial behaviour in this area. We've learnt paranoia here, that the Scottish Government and Scottish agencies are out to get us. And this will add to that feeling that we are victimised and not treated fairly, and are very low down the consideration at the Scottish level. Yeah, they are. They absolutely are, because you're not in your central belt. You're not in the homesteads of the mighty from the SNP rather, in their little power bases. The former Labour councillor quit the party earlier this year after lambasting Sir Keir Starmer, which is quite easy to do, really, isn't it? For his reckless oil and gas strategy. Yeah, I mean, the whole of the North East relies on this, and it seems that Labour, as well as the SNP and the Greens, are all trying to basically distance themselves and kill the oil and gas industry, and thus turning the whole of the North East into a third world state. He now sits as an independent, and he believes that this gives him a better chance to stand up for his region. Yeah, because he's not tied by party lines, is he? He added that locals are already reluctant to report crimes, and that this could now get worse. He said, already we have a syndrome of that. It's particularly visible in the city centre here. We have bylaws in operation, like no drinking in the street, for example, and we don't see any action. In the last few days, we've had calls for businesses to install their own security because of a lack of confidence in how things are going here. It's another turn of the screw for the North East, and the North East is going to have to speak up. Well, I think, as I say, you need to get together, form a band of citizen volunteers, do the policing yourself, and then just when you're ready, just go in en masse, pick these lads up, take them down a back alley, and give them a stern talking to, if you understand what I'm saying. And just make it clear to them that this will not be tolerated, and when they heal their bones, they'll not be coming back, or they'll get more of the same. That kind of thing. Do that a couple of times, and it's amazing how quickly these boys will learn to behave, because you've got to put the fear into them and stop letting them put the fear into you. Little band of vigilant citizens, we'll call them. He said, that's part of the reason I'll become an independent. We need to have our own separate voice in Aberdeen. And we'll be speaking very loudly, he said, right across the civil society and how we are treated in a Scottish-wide context. Police Scotland confirmed the pilot would go ahead on Monday and added that the hard choices are being made to deliver effective policing within the funding available. And that is down to the SNP not funding. So if you are a minor criminal and you're in the Aberdeen area, good luck. Fill your boots. There's nothing they're going to do. They're not interested. See something in your garden, take it. They're not going to do anything. Don't care. They don't care. It's yours. Want to go shoplifting? No worries. If it's under a couple of £100, they're not interested. This is it. This is what it is now. This is how it's come. Free for all. An absolute free for all. It's the wild, wild west. Under the new approach, the aim is for people to inform people of the decision more quickly. Divisional Commander Chief Superintendent Graham Mackey said, the pilot process will enable local police officers to focus on those crimes that have the proportionate lines of inquiry and potentially enable them to give more time to local concerns and priorities in the area. Social crime is the rising crime that absolutely needs to be dealt with. Yobs, lads in the street, gobshites. That's what needs to be addressed. They need to be punished, and they need to be punished hard. And I'm not talking about being prosecuted. I'm talking about the old days, whipping out the old truncheon, giving them a what for. They don't come back for seconds. He said, we also know that sometimes people simply want to report a crime. We want to provide that service efficiently. Please continue to report crime in your area. Local officers will continue to review closed reports to enable them to map local crime trends. And this may mean an inquiry is reopened and investigated. Well, whoopee-doo, don't hold your breath. The new development in Scotland comes days after the Home Secretary, Swella Braverman, said that police in England and Wales must investigate every theft and follow all reasonable leads to catch offenders. She said it was completely unacceptable that criminals are often effectively free to break certain laws. Now there you go. They're doing this in England. They're not doing it in Scotland. And this is one of those where the SNP cannot claim that they are doing better. Scottish Conservatives Shadow Justice Secretary Russell Findlay said the SNP government's decision to impose severe and sustained cuts on police budgets has depleted policing across Scotland, with the fewest number of officers since 2008. Police Scotland should be applauded for being so candid about the reality of their predicament, but communities deserve better than the SNP's weak approach to justice and their shabby surrender to criminals. Ministers must be upfront with the public about whether this policy will potentially be rolled out elsewhere in Scotland, and of course it will be. And that's the problem. You got this very stupid government that doesn't understand priorities and thinks that everything should be focused on independence rather than the needs of the public. And crime and policing is definitely something that needs addressing, especially social crime, especially these yobs. They make life miserable for everyone. Anyway, I shall stop there. She'll come up and we shall round off the video. Now, of course, the police argue that vigilantism is a bad thing. But when there's no police, what else do you have? And if the police don't want that to happen, then the police need to patrol. And if they're not willing to patrol, then the citizens must patrol themselves and form themselves into committees, have various areas and police their areas efficiently. And make sure that these lads only commit these offences once. And I find that they don't come back for seconds if they know they're going to get thirds and fourths. And each time it gets worse and worse. And then all of a sudden, the penny drops and they start behaving themselves. And that's how it must be. Well, if you are going to form it, lads, wear the mask. Make sure that you can't be identified. Gloves, mask and gloves. That's all it is. Police won't be interested in, minor crime, isn't it? Some yob lying on the ground, broken arm. What a shame. Take yourself to hospital, son. Don't come back. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you agree with me and you think that something needs to be done, then do please feel free to hit that subscribe button and let's spread the message. Political, they won't spread us. Anyway, until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, we are many, they are few. We will win because we have the right. Bye.